Hi, I'm Randy Owen from ThermalWorks. For many, the idea of roasting a turkey seems a daunting task. All of us have eaten dry, flavorless, and overcooked turkey. There are a few simple steps focused on temperature that will ensure a moist and flavorful Thanksgiving meal. We've brought you here today to show you, in just a few minutes, how simple this can be. The process begins with thawing the turkey. You should thaw your turkey in its unopened wrapper on a lower shelf of the refrigerator. Your fridge temp should be set to 37 Fahrenheit so that the turkey never gets above 40 degrees Fahrenheit during the thaw. With a frozen bird, you should allow 1 day of thawing in a fridge for every 5 pounds of frozen meat. So with this 20-pound bird, we've had it in the fridge for 4 days and it's now thawed and ready to go. The next step would be to brine the turkey. Most chefs and experienced cooks will use a brine to introduce flavor and to keep meat moist throughout the cook and when it's being served. If you do choose to brine your turkey, your brining bath should be kept at 40 or 41 Fahrenheit, never warmer, throughout the entire time. That prevents the growth of bacteria. Now, to make things simpler, we've chosen a butterball turkey, which comes pre-injected with saline and flavors so that your meat stays moist and flavorful throughout the cooking time, as long as you don't overcook the bird. The next step is to rinse and pat the turkey dry. If you leave any of the skin wet, it'll turn out mottled after it's cooked. After that, we rub the skin liberally with butter, making sure that we cover all the backside, in between the legs, and across the breast. After the butter, we season the turkey liberally with salt and pepper and traditional Thanksgiving herbs. We've used a dried mix of parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. If you're not sure which are the traditional Thanksgiving herbs, just remember the Simon Garfunkel song. After that, we filled the cavity with celery, onion, and carrot. A traditional turkey you might think should be stuffed. We've decided not to stuff the bird. We don't recommend it. The stuffing has to reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit to be safe and to kill all the bacteria. In order to do that, the turkey would be in the oven so long that the breast would turn out overcooked and dry. So instead, we've used butter, seasonings, and the mixture of vegetables. We'll also take some of these vegetables and scatter them in the roasting pan to add further moisture and flavor to the turkey drippings as the turkey cooks. Once the turkey's filled with a little bit of mixture, and you can still see how well the heat will circulate there, as opposed to a stuffed and closed bird, we'll tuck the legs under this flap of skin to hold them in during the roasting. Next, we'll place the turkey in an elevated V-rack roaster. The elevated rack will assure that the heat will circulate around and underneath the turkey for even cooking during the roast. The next step is to place our cooking thermometer to make sure that we hit the right temperature. We're using the ThermalWorks Chef Alarm. We're going to place the probe in the thickest part of the breast, away from bone, so that it keeps track of the breast at its deepest part while it's cooking. Okay, we're ready for the oven. We've set the oven to 425 Fahrenheit. We'll roast this bird at 425 for about 1 hour. That will produce a nice evenly browned and crisp skin. Then we'll turn the turkey 180 degrees and roast for another 2 hours at a reduced temperature of 325, which will provide more time for the turkey to cook at a lower temperature, rendering the fats and making the bird tender and leaving it moist. So to start, we'll set the timer function on our Chef Alarm to sound at 1 hour. We've set the rack in the oven at its lowest position so that the bird ends up in the thermal center of the oven. Position the cable so it's not touching the rack or an element. Shut the door and set our timer up and hit start. Okay, we're ready to go. We'll be back in an hour. Okay, our chef alarm timer is sounded. Our turkey's been in the oven at 425 for just about an hour. So now it's time to take the turkey out, rotate it at 180 degrees, and turn the oven temperature down to 325. Whew. You can see it's looking nice and brown. We'll reposition the probe cable so it comes around the front. Slide the turkey back in. And we'll set the oven down to 325. Now we won't be looking for time necessarily. We've set the chef alarm to sound at 157 Fahrenheit. That should take about 2 hours for this size bird at this temperature. But we'll see. What we care about is reaching 157 Fahrenheit. Now we're setting the final roasting temperature to 157. There we go. You can see here on the chef alarm display, we also have the constant min-max. The max currently is the same as the main display. The turkey in the oven is at 104 Fahrenheit. The min temperature shows us our start temperature. We were at 53 Fahrenheit when we popped it in the oven. Convenient reminder of how far we've come and what the starting temperature was as we try to record results of each time we cook and build our recipe knowledge. Our chef alarm is sounding. We're at 157 Fahrenheit. Time to take a peek. Color's perfect. Now what we want to do is probe this turkey in several places with a super fast thermopen to confirm our readings. Make sure we're at the point where we wanted to be. First, let's take a look at the thigh. 180, 182. Let's check the leg on this side. 190. It's a good reading. Let's go deep into the breast. 157. 155. We're a little warmer on this side. The USDA says poultry should be cooked to 165 Fahrenheit. We want to pull this turkey before it actually gets to 165 because during the rest it will rise 8 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you pulled the turkey at 165, you might end up at 175, 178, which would be overcooked in the breast meat. Now the thigh meat and the leg, you see, are much higher. We actually want them cooked to a higher temperature. There is much more connective tissue and fat in the dark meat, and for that to render properly and for the meat to turn out more tender, we want to get to a higher temperature in the thigh or leg. 175 to 185. I think we're about ready to pull it. So we'll set it on the counter and get the rest started. It's just the right color everywhere. Okay, our 30-minute rest is up. We've taken the pan and its drippings, started an amazing gravy. And the bird is now rested and ready to go. If we look at our chef alarm, we can see that during the rest, the temperature reached 168. We can see that on the max display. Right now it's at about 163. So we know that the temperature rise is peaked and it's still perfectly hot and ready to go. Now we'll start to carve. I think what we'll do is slice a breast off so we can carve out some nice, beautiful breast pieces. We'll pull the chef alarm probe from the turkey. It's done its job now. It's still very hot. You hear the skin, crispy skin pop there as we go through it with the knife? Wow. And we'll move this to the cutting board for slicing. It's beautiful, beautiful. Okay, now all we need to do is slice it, put it on a platter, and we're ready to go. See that? There you go. Crispy skin, wonderful aroma, very moist, tender, and flavorful. And it didn't take all day. Just a few simple thermal tips.